compiled in the Newstalk Radio Newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
With the news at this time, I am Tiana Jordan. A very good day to you. To begin the news, here's a look at the lead stories. The highly contagious Omicron variant of the coronavirus may be in Guyana. The opposition APNU plus AFC is yet to name its nominees for the Public Procurement Commission. 2 men have been charged with the murder of a well-known martial arts expert and bodyguard. In regional news, the reopening of all public schools in the British Virgin Islands for the new academic term has been switched to online. And in Suriname, several rifles that were believed to have been stolen from the private armory of former President Desi Bouterse have been found. And for the international news, we'll be bringing to you the latest bulletin from the BBC World Service. The details coming up right here in just a moment.
Not seeing returns on your dollar? Then advertise with Newstalk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM and see results. We give you competitive rates, wide coverage, appealing programs, streaming online worldwide on dem waves, and we give you value for your money. You'll see returns when you advertise with us. Call our helpful staff today on 223-1056 or 223-1041 for those competitive rates. 103.1 FM, accurate information blended with great music.
And now the news in detail. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony says the highly contagious Omicron variant of COVID-19 is believed to be in Guyana.
We suspect that we might have the Omicron variant that is in circulation in Guyana, because based on these numbers, we know that in other countries with Omicron it's highly contagious, so the numbers would keep multiplying every 2 to 4 days. You'll have an increase in these numbers. And so with the way that this has rapidly progressed over the last couple of days, we suspect from an epidemiological point of view that we might have Omicron that is in circulation here.
The health minister says Guyana is actively considering administering booster doses to children ages 16 years and older.
And for some in the U.S. now, they have considered that persons 16 years and older can get the booster dose. So that's something that is under active consideration here in Guyana, and we'll see when those considerations are concluded. Maybe we'll change the recommendation as well.
The health minister is highly recommending that Guyanese wear the N95 masks consistently and properly. Scientists believe that Omicron mostly affects the throat rather than the lungs, which are affected mostly by the Delta variant. The government has identified its names while the opposition is still considering names for nomination to the Public Procurement Commission, PPC. During Monday's meeting of the Bipartisan Parliamentary Committee of the Public Accounts Committee, deliberations were at times heated. Members of the committee were assured by the chairman of the committee, Jermaine Figuera, that no ultimatum was agreed for the conclusion of listing names. A subcommittee consisting of the chairman of the PAC, Mr. Figuera, and Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Gail Teixeira, met last in December of 2021.
Because the subcommittee was bestowed with the confidence of the committee to do a specific work, it is not being done in a manner that it should be, I must say, but all efforts should be put, and the proposal to meet this week is a very acceptable one, and I think that will help to move the process forward. There's no ultimatum here, Honorable Member.
Parliamentary Affairs Minister informed the PAC in Monday's meeting that the government has selected its required names, but the opposition is yet to submit its names.
and we agreed to meet again. There was no further communication with us from that meeting except to exchange Christmas greetings, and that was it. So I don't want this to be conveyed in this committee that you have put forward names. You have not said that, but your members seem to have that impression, and that the government is holding it up. We have not come to that position. However, at Wednesday meeting, if the opposition is ready with their 2 names and we're ready with our 3 names, then we can proceed. If we're still in the process of making decisions and getting guidance, then we will have to keep meeting.
The government is required to submit 3 names and the opposition 2 names to put in place the 5-member Public Procurement Commission. The Charity Neighborhood Council is moving to stamp out street vending. Acting overseer for the council, Ramiz Basht, says the plan is to create a semi-mall where vendors will be able to sell their items in an orderly and secure environment. He says eventually a concrete fence will be constructed around the tarmac and lights will be installed. The Charity Neighborhood Council overseer says that plans have also been made to extend the shed to cover the other half of the tarmac and include an entrance and exit. Bashk added that these works are also aimed at providing some security for vendors and their goods, since there have been cases of burglary. The Guyana Defense Forces Engineering Corps is continuing to perform infrastructural works across the country. The government's Department of Public Information says the GDF is building the steel frame shed for the vendors' tarmac at the Charity Market in Region 2. This will allow vendors to ply their trade to operate within a safe environment. In 2021, the government spent $30 million to rehabilitate the market's tarmac. A Linden man has been arraigned on a charge of attempting to murder a constable who attempted to arrest him for rape of a female. Jamal Regan Ford, called Sugar, age 29 years old, a laborer of Lot 969 Phase 1B Wisrock, Wisma Linden, appeared in the Linden Magistrates Court to answer to charges of rape of a child under 16 years of age and attempt to commit murder. Police say the accused, Jamal Ford, was arrested on Old Year's Day for the 2 offenses. He was not required to plead to the indictable charge that was read to him by Magistrate Wand Fortune. He was remanded to prison until Monday, January 31st. Police say they are waiting advice for the rape charge. 2 men have been charged with the murder of well-known martial arts expert Garfield Newton. The accused are Judah Vickery and Darren Bailey. They were remanded to prison on Monday when they appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan at the Georgetown Magistrates Court. They have been charged with the murder of Garfield Newton, a bodyguard at the Bihari Group of Companies, and karate trainer. Police say 3 unidentified men attacked Mr. Newton as he was returning to a Bihari Group vehicle from a goldsmith. Investigators were informed that 1 silver handband, 1 gold chain, and 2 gold finger rings, as well as 1 Glock 9mm pistol and 2 magazines of 15 rounds each, and a cell phone were stolen. Police say that Newton went to a goldsmith on Campbell Street where he collected the now stolen items he had taken to clean. And now for the regional news. Antigua and Barbuda's tourism sector is again facing a possible crisis. The sector was hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic for a whole year in 2020 due to lockdowns and travel restrictions. Antigua and Barbuda Hotel and Tourism Association member Alex De Brito says cancellations have increased. Mr. De Brito, who is also the Vice President of Operations for the Gali Bay Resort, tells Observer that hoteliers were looking forward to a successful winter season. De Brito says the next couple of months could also be difficult for the sector. The reopening of all public schools in the British Virgin Islands for the new academic term has been diverted to online platforms. This decision came with the continued rapid rise in positive COVID-19 cases in the territory. In a very brief statement issued by the Ministry of Education on January 1st, parents were also informed that schools would now reopen on January 6th instead, 2 days later than originally planned. However, the release stated that principals and teachers are expected to begin on Tuesday, January 4th, for the start of the school term. The release further indicated that the push to online learning platforms was most likely a result of the rapid surge in COVID-19 cases in the territory. The most recent disclosure from health officials on December 31st put the number of positive COVID-19 cases at 423 persons, with the majority of these, 332 cases, being in Tortola. The Education Ministry expressed that they were being cautious as they monitor the situation. This is not the first instance of schools being forced to go online in the BVI. Local educational facilities were previously asked to go digital at the beginning of the last academic year. Notably, schools reopened for face-to-face learning sessions at the beginning of the current school year, following a deadly COVID-19 surge last July that claimed the lives of more than 35 persons. Both divisions of the Elmore Stout High School were also asked to revert to online learning as the academic term came to a close last year. In Suriname, at least 5 AK-47 assault rifles, believed to be among those stolen from the armory of the private residence of former President Desi Bouterse, have been found. Star News reports that authorities have not made any formal statements about the rifles. It is not clear who placed the weapons in a location where they could be easily discovered. Star News says these weapons are a part of the depot of the National Army, which were at the home of ex-President Bouterse. Bouterse had announced at a press conference that the underworld has organized itself and is prepared to return the stolen weapons. Several people are still in custody in connection with the theft of the weapons. They have repeatedly denied their involvement. The case is due to resume on January 20th. Official records show that 25 AK-47 rifles are among the weapons that have been stolen. The Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda announced intent to institutionalize year-end Thanksgiving service held Sunday for the islands, even as he scolds the opposition leader for not attending the church service.
We were mandated to give thanks to the Lord for his unfailing love and his wonderful deeds. Scripture also said to us that there are some who are rebellious. And I hope the absence of the leader of the opposition, and I'm not trying to be political, but this is the second year that we'd have had an excuse. I hope it's not an act of rebellion. Because this Sunday is not for the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. It is for the interests of all Antiguans and Barbudans. And perhaps we ought to consult as to how we can make this service more inclusive, to expand it so that all Antiguans and Barbudans, especially our leaders, will understand the importance of setting the tone for each year and to give thanks for God's mercies and blessings. So I will ask the Minister of Ecclesiastical Affairs, who is here with us today, to put a team together to commence the consultations to ensure that we could broaden and enrich this service and to ensure that this service is fully institutionalized, no matter whichever party is in power.
Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Browne. And now for the international news, here's the latest bulletin from the BBC World Service.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The United States has registered more than 1 million new coronavirus cases in the past 24 hours. That figure sets a global daily record for infections. Simon Ponsford has more details.
1 million infections recorded in one day in the US is more evidence of the startling spread of the Omicron variant. At the same time, the number of people in hospital with COVID has risen to more than 100,000, the highest figure for 4 months. The US government's top medical advisor, Anthony Fauci, says hospital admissions are the best guide to the impact of Omicron, which is highly contagious but does appear to cause milder effects. He's cautiously hopeful that the variant will peak swiftly, then fade just as quickly. But while that's happening, health services are under severe strain, and the fallout for workers, businesses and schools will be hard to handle.
China is showing its determination to continue with its zero COVID strategy, locking down an entire city and launching a Winter Olympic bubble. More than 1 million residents in the city of Yuzhou have been ordered to stay at home after the discovery of just 3 asymptomatic cases. Robin Brandt is in Shanghai.
The government believes that it's managed to achieve near normality in places like where I am, Shanghai, business as usual, because it has this zero COVID strategy with this hypervigilance, with these severe clampdowns. In Xi'an, a big city, 13 million people, and they are 2 weeks now into a lockdown that is just as severe as the one in Yuzhou. We've seen reports there of some desperation on social media, some reports in particular of bartering going on, cigarettes being exchanged for food, other things being exchanged for sanitary products.
Sudanese security forces have fired tear gas in an effort to break up pro-democracy protests in the capital Khartoum and in Port Sudan. The protests come just 2 days after the resignation of the civilian Prime Minister. Will Ross reports.
Thousands of people are once again out on the streets of Sudanese cities chanting slogans against the military and calling for the downfall of the ruling council. One of the largest rallies is in Port Sudan, where the security forces have fired tear gas and there are reports of gunfire. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who led October's coup, might be hoping that people lose their appetite for street action. But there is a brave determination amongst the Sudanese population who rejected a civilian Prime Minister, Abdallah Hamdok, because he had agreed to work with the military.
The leader of a notorious armed gang in Nigeria's Zamfara state is reported to have released more than 50 people who'd recently been kidnapped. Eyewitnesses saw buses full of hostages heading to the state capital. Officials haven't said why the group's leader, Bello Turji, decided to release dozens of people. World news from the BBC. A court in Uganda has ordered the police to release a prominent author, Kakwenza Ruchira Bashaija. He was arrested last week after criticising President Yoweri Museveni and his son on social media. A lawyer for the writer said he had not yet been released, but he expected the authorities to comply with the court ruling. Mr. Ruchira Bashaija had been due in court to face the charge of offensive communication. The police in India have detained a woman thought to be the mastermind behind an app that shared pictures of more than 100 Muslim women saying they were for sale. A 21-year-old man was arrested on Monday in connection with the case. An official said the pair know each other and are both being questioned. A semi-official Iranian news agency is launching a Hebrew language website to counter what it claims is Israel's systematic censorship of news on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The move comes at a time of heightened tensions between Iran and Israel. Here's Mike Thompson.
The Tasnim news agency argues that the new website is necessary because of what it calls Israel's censorship on the Palestinian issue and its strategic importance for Muslims around the world. The head of the agency, Majid Kulizadeh, said he hoped this would also enable people in Israel to be better informed about what's happening to Palestinians in areas such as the Israeli-occupied West Bank. The launch of the Hebrew language website coincides with renewed tensions between Iran and Israel, as nuclear talks between Tehran and world powers continue in Vienna.
The world tennis number one, Novak Djokovic, will play in the Australian Open this month. after he was given a medical exemption from COVID vaccine rules. There had been speculation over whether the Serbian star, a critic of vaccine mandates, would take part in the tournament in Melbourne. That's the latest. BBC News.
And now to end the news, here is a recap of the lead stories. The highly contagious Omicron variant of the coronavirus may be in Guyana. The opposition, APNU plus AFC, is yet to name its nominees for the Public Procurement Commission. 2 men have been charged with the murder of a well-known martial arts expert and bodyguard. And in regional news, the reopening of all public schools in the British Virgin Islands for the new academic term has been switched to online. And in Suriname, several rifles that were believed to have been stolen from the private armory of former President Desi Bouterse have been found. And that's the end of the news.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio Newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.